Hey guys, it's Christina. This is Vox and Guest, and I am here with Ryan, otherwise known to the many denizens of the internet as Simple Jack. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm so happy to have you here. We've been waiting on this one for a while, so I'm always happy when I see people's names in the calendar, and I'm like, oh, it's going to take too long to get there, and now we're here. So, um, okay, so I don't know if you watch the show or not, but I do like to start every episode with a hard-hitting, deeply important question. So I'm going to throw one at you. Take as much time to think about it as you need, but think about it honestly, and don't be afraid to get emotional here. We're fine with that. Are you ready?
All right, let's go.
Okay. What would be the worst buy one, get one sale ever? He's thinking, ladies and gentlemen. He's giving it.
I guess like a used sex toy. That would suck. You'd have like two used sex toys.
Oh my God, that's the worst thing I've ever heard. Okay. Where my brain went was like pre-chewed food, but I somehow think yours is actually even worse.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I think, well, I'm not going to get into it, but I've heard at some point somewhere that there actually might be a site that does recycle them.
Oh,
and I
great.
just remember reading it and going, wow. So, okay. All right.
Someone must have stolen my idea. That's great.
It's true. You were like an entrepreneur and you didn't even know it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've set the tone for this episode.
I hope not.
Right out of the gate. No, he definitely won't. So, okay, to get into something a little less squeamish, talk to me about how you got into music. How long have you been in it? How long have you been singing? How long have you been playing guitar? What's your musician origin story?
Oh, wow. That's crazy. Now, just as you said that,
BOGO question wasn't.
I didn't think about that. But looking back, man, it had to have been ever since I was just like a little kid. There was always an acoustic guitar around somewhere, or there was live music going on. My dad was in a cover band, so that was pretty cool when I was a kid and stuff. And then I kind of got into the church music scene a little bit, and I say scene because it seemed like a lot of that was just for show at the time.
I
so
hear you. Okay.
And it was on and off, and then when I got into the military, it was I kind of put all that to the side because I knew that the way I am with stuff is I focus on like one thing and I just beat it to death sometimes. But with that being said, I was able to always be patient with the guitar, but really I was just kind of putting off what I really wanted to do because I knew that's what I wanted to do. And so I got back into playing the guitar and singing and stuff. It was like, I don't know, couple years after I got out of the military, and I was able to join up at a church to help out and stuff, and they asked if I played acoustic guitar. I was like, man, not since you asked. And so that's how I got back into it. But it was a weird situation that happened that stemmed from that, and I guess it's just I don't know. It's just the acoustic guitar's always been just hanging around me for a long time. And I think after, the things that had transpired, with just life in general, I started taking it a little bit more seriously. So.
So you were interested in music just even from being a little kid. That's cool about your dad, because you have ended up being a cover musician as well, which I'm always happy when another one of my ilk comes on this show, because I mostly interview indie original artists from the community, and I think you are only the second current cover artist to be on this show. Sean Thunderfoot Wells was the first one, so Sean and I bonded over covers. So what kind of cover band was your dad in? Was it just like
oh man, it was like classic rock and like modern country stuff.
Okay.
That was like, I think, early 90s time frame. So
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it could have been like Johnny Be Good or something like that.
Big hit in the 90s, as I recall.
Yeah.
Big, very topical. So since you grew up around music, at what point did you start singing? Was that before you picked up the guitar, around the same time, or was it something that came later? Just because if you're playing a guitar, usually somebody expects you to also be singing at the same time, or?
Well, like early part of high school, I had some friends of mine that had a little space, so we were talking about like starting a band and stuff like that. And I knew like 3 chords on the guitar at the time, and I was like, and it was all like church tunes. And what happened was we formed this like a little garage band and recorded something on one of those old school like cassette recorders.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, and I sounded terrible. And so I was like, man, I really shouldn't be a singer. And but I still play the guitar and I would still sing. And it got kind of corny because I would like end up like doing some Adam Sandler stuff, and that. And so
there was a lot of stuff like this, that kind of thing, or just like his actual songs, or
oh no, just like
just joking around. Okay.
Just joking around, or actually playing Hanukkah or one of the other classics.
Classics, yeah. That's what we'll call them. Adam Sandler classics. So you decided, even though you didn't think you sounded good at singing, you were going to do it anyway.
Yeah, that was a great idea. That was good is I had a couple people around me that would tell me that I sounded like crap. And so, which in turn, not not in the always the, they were never mean. I never looking back on it like, is there
a nice way to say you sound like crap? I mean, like that's pretty, it's pretty much like the definition of mean, I think. But it was like, hey, buddy, really nice to see you. You sound like crap. Have a great day. Like, oh, hello, dog. You have a puppy behind you. There's always something small and squirrely behind you. That is a very cute dog. But okay, so you had people giving you constructive criticism,
right? Yeah. So then I started actually, just practicing in my own little way and be more mindful of my voice and stuff and tones and whatnot. And it's still a learning process, just like the guitar for me, because. Hey, I chose a lot of booze over good practice time and stuff. So it just took a while, but it's been a long time, a long slow process doing music, and but just never truly what I wanted to be doing, which was like touring and writing original music and stuff like that, like the childhood dream of being a rock star.
Right.
But
right.
I chose
or at
the
least a musician. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's that, life intervenes. That's something that a lot of our, musician friends and our guests say, that they'll take a long hiatus for whatever reason, either they are in the military or they have kids or they have to work or whatever. And then, they find their way back. So, unfortunately, not an unusual story. I'm just always glad that you guys come back to it. I mean, I had the same sort of thing. I was out of music for about 10 years at one point and just, living life. And when you're a musician and you're not making music, you feel like part of yourself is missing. So I think something will always grab you back to it. It just takes longer than we would like sometimes. So, so you alluded to, some of what got in the way there, and we'll come back to that later. But before we get to that too much, I don't want to define you just by that. You you're very cool about the range of covers that you pick and put on Facebook. You know, it's not the stuff that you necessarily hear covered if you go to a bar rather, and listen to a band there. You know, and you pick a lot of stuff that, you know, and I don't know if it's intentional or not, so I'm curious about it, but a lot of the covers that I've heard you do seem to have similar themes in common. So like one of the songs, the first songs that I saw you do was Daughtry, Home, which is a great song. And I love Daughtry. He's got one of the best voices I think I've ever heard, severely underrated. But so, I mean, you know, you'll do that, and then you'll do like a Matchbox 20 cover, and then you'll throw in Papa Roach, and then, you know, Bush and Soul Asylum and Shinedown, and you're going to all these different artists that don't necessarily fall into the same genre, don't have it with it. So I'm curious, are these just songs that you really like? Are they songs that mean something to you? Is it both? Are you trying to kind of go for a theme, or how do you pick the covers that you play and that you put out on Facebook?
A lot of them are like songs that I've heard that I was like, man, I wish there was an acoustic version of that.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I think because that was like kind of within my my abilities, you know, and because it's I don't know, I was calling them covers, you know, and I feel like I was giving them a fair shake. But you know, when you're drinking and stuff like that, and you know, I look at them and I'm like, I hope that I was doing, you know, honor by doing those, you know, and because I try to be respectful of music, and I really don't have like a certain, you know, genre that I've ever really like latched onto per se, but obviously it's a broad range of more alternative rock, you know, right. Sometimes metal and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, it's hard for me to even keep track. What are we on? What topic are we on right now?
We're just talking about the, you know, because I was noticing in the covers that you have up on Facebook, that a lot of them are, the lyrics tend to be pretty emotional, sort of stuff about, you know, literally returning home, or just sort of coming back to yourself. You know, you did Unwell, I think, by Matchbox 20. Obviously those lyrics have a lot to say, you know, and I was just wondering whether there were themes to the songs that you picked, or if it was just stuff you happened to like. And I mean, one of the things I heard you say is that, you know, these are things you wanted an acoustic version of, and you didn't have one, so you made one. But I mean, does there ever, you know,
and then that's where I started going down the rabbit trail. So
that's okay.
Yeah,
you know what? The great thing about
attention span for me is you know, kind of iffy right now. So
that's okay. I know you've been standing out in extreme heat most of the day, and then, you know, you have little kids, so you're not sleeping very well, and all of that together just by itself. But that's okay. I'll get like a thing of keys or something, and I'll just keep dangling it.
That's cool.
But I really, I mean, like I think that one of the things that I really love about your page, your social media, besides, you know, the main messages that you try to get out, but musically, is that your stuff is very unadorned. You know, it's you sitting in this room usually, or somewhere with your acoustic and the camera's right there, and it feels very intimate. You know, you're not putting a bunch of effects on it. You're not building it up in a big way. You're not overly editing, producing anything. A lot of times your kids will pop in and out. The dog will pop in and out, you know, and I love that because you're really, you know, it's real. It's you, it's your life, you know, and I think especially for someone who gravitates towards acoustic guitar and singing, I always think of that as a fairly personal choice of how to make music anyway, right? I mean, electric guitar is different. It's flashier, you know, you have to have an amp or you're not getting a whole lot of sound out of it, you know, and it tends to be used for larger music. But, you know, an acoustic guitar and a guy singing, like, that's coffee house, that's, quad on the lawn in college. That's just something that I think everybody, that's campfire. And I love that. I love that you are just coming and sitting down and going, hey, this is a song I like. Not sure I'm going to like how I do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. And that grabbed me. The very first video I saw of yours that showed up in my feed. Cause you and I met in an interesting way. I think you had, I do these posts when we, hit follower milestones or whatever, on Facebook, just to basically use them as an excuse to shout out other artists and other accounts. And you were one of the ones that, you were close enough to the number, and your page had just started. And I remember seeing your post, and you had put something up about how you have this very important story. You have this significant story and a mission that you want to tell about addiction and recovery, and sort of publicly going through the process of recovery so that you can help other people. And also, I think maybe in a way kind of keep yourself accountable. I'm not sure. And you had set a goal with, I think, your counselor, that you wanted to hit like 300 followers in 3 months. Am I right about that? It was something like that?
Wow. That's yes, you're right. That's man, that seems like that was so long ago. It's weird.
Yeah. And I think that was probably in maybe May. I don't know, might've been April. And I saw this and you had put out a post just really honest about, your process in recovery, just, having good days, having not good days, and just really wanting to stick with it and push through. And, that this was a goal that you had in mind. And so, the Band Together community, which is 1,000% just the best group of people. I mean, not just on Facebook, I think pretty much anywhere, the indie music community. I was like, okay, he wants to do 303 months. And I think you had I don't remember, it was under 100 maybe at that point, or just about 100, I forget. And, so I sent out the call, and you messaged me, or you tagged me on something like the next day, and you were like, okay, well, we've smashed that, now I have to set a new goal. And I just thought, this guy has something to say, and there are so many people in this community who need to hear it, either because they've been there and they can relate, or they want to be there and are trying to relate, or they've known people in their life that they can relate to it indirectly from, or whatever. But that, I believe, that was the first time I interacted with you. And I'm kind of all over the place here, but it sort of, I guess it makes no sense for us not to get into your story a little bit here, because that'll give context to everything else. But before we do that, because otherwise I know Greg is going to poke me with a very long stick and shut up everybody out there. I've said that, but the minds of these people watching. But before we even do that, I want to make sure that we get everybody who hasn't maybe already heard you to hear you, and for those who are already fans, to just be able to enjoy the music. So one of the covers that you put out, and this one was pretty recent, I think, was Only One, which is a Yellow Card song, right?
Yeah, it's the only one. Yes, yeah. It is the Yellow Card song. But which, by the way, Yellow Card just dropped some new music, and it's awesome. So
okay,
for those of you who like Yellow Card and pop punk and punk rock and stuff, go check it out.
Okay, maybe there'll be another.
I just left a plug for Yellow Card.
Yeah, I think they're probably okay, but they will probably appreciate it if they see this. Now, Yellow Card, if you're watching this, the next time you do an interview, you have to plug Simple Jack. It's only fair, right? So.
Oh man.
So talk to me a little bit about this particular cover. It is your single on Spotify, and it is a collab with As the City Sleeps, right? Which is a band, I think we'll be talking about a little bit more as we go. But is there anything specific about the song that you want to say quickly before we play it, and then we can jump back into it?
It was something that me and my cousin talked about doing, and we set out and did it. You know, it was kind of like I would say an anthem for kind of how I was feeling at the time. So it worked out perfect.
Okay. All right. Well, so everybody, this is Only One, yellow card cover by Simple Jack and As the City Sleeps.
Broken this fragile thing now, and I can't pick up the pieces, and I've thrown my words all around, but I can't give you reason. I feel so broken up, and I give up. Just wanna tell you so you know. Here I go, scream my lungs out and try to get to you. You are my only one. I let go. There's just no one that gets me like you do. You are my only one. Make my mistakes, let you down, and I can't hold on for too long. Ran my whole life in the ground, and I can't get up when you're gone, and something's breaking up. I feel like giving up. I won't walk out until you know. Here I go, scream my lungs out and try to get to you. You are my only one. I let go. There's just no one that gets me like you do. You are my only one. Here I go, scream my lungs out and try to get to you. You are my only one. I let go. There's just no one like you. You are my only one. My only one. My only one. My only one. You are my only one.
So, okay, you were talking about an anthem for how you were feeling at the time. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that and why this particular song at that particular time?
Well, me and my cousin, Jared from As the City Sleeps, we were talking about doing a cover, and at the time, you know, I was pretty drunk most of the time, and I really felt like I was screwing up my only chance, and so some of that kind of is how I end up picking songs to cover. It's like, how do I feel that day, and it was one of those times where I felt that. And my other cousin, she's the bassist for As the City Sleeps, Brenna, she was doing backup vocals and stuff, and Jared's vocals are in there too. So it all made sense that us as a family, we've gone through some stuff together, and when we get together, it's kind of cool because we get to, you know, talk about stuff. And I don't know about everybody, but I wasn't, you know, this close to my cousins, you know, in a long time, and being that we grew up together. And so it was just a cool opportunity. And yeah, it was a different life though for me. I even looked different in there. Looking at it, I was like, man, that alcohol makes my face all puffy and stuff.
I mean, you definitely do look different from even just, you know, a month ago.
That's wild.
So, okay. So just to get into things more directly. So you are very vocal on your social media and pretty much everything that you do about the fact that you are in recovery.
Right.
And I think it was a big part of, as I said, what drew me to your page and your music. And because, you know, as I say a lot, we talk about mental health a lot on this show, you know, and everyone that I've spoken to has a story. I mean, everyone has a story, right? But, you know, for people who are struggling with addiction or who are beginning recovery or want to be beginning recovery, who are willing to share that with anybody, never mind everybody who might come across social media, I have such tremendous respect for that, because, you know, it is a very personal thing. It could be a very private thing. Nobody would blame you if you didn't want to broadcast it to the world, but you seem to really want to reach people who might be where you were, be where you are. And so why don't we talk a little bit about however much of your story and your history and all of that you want to, just so that people understand, you know, the context of your message and what you're trying to put out there.
Yeah. I mean, it became like a life or death situation for me as far as going to treatment. And when I completed it, I was like, man, it's going to be tough because I'm going to be a stay-at-home dad. And the reason being is, you know, I being out of the military and stuff like that, it's tough sometimes to have like consistent employment, just because we carry a lot of baggage and stuff, not only from younger life, but also into the military. And then you go into, you know, different environments, some pretty hostile, and you're supposed to process that in like a small amount of time. So, and I use some of my childhood stuff and my military time to develop an affection for alcohol to numb things. And what ended up happening was it just kept growing and growing, and it became a reason for, you know, a lot of things. And ultimately, I noticed that it was starting to just like take control of pretty much every like core of my my day, my life, my relationship with God, everything, you know. And I was getting to the point where I just stopped caring how much I was drinking. And one night, you know, not too long ago, ended up, you know, getting so smashed I was, you know, outside puking and stuff, and ended up choking on my own vomit.
Oh boy.
And that's why my, you know, wife and kids are, you know, inside the house, you know, and they, you know, if I would have passed out there, you know, they wouldn't have, I mean, they may not have known for a little bit. And anyway, so I that happened towards like the end of last year. And then it just, I thought that would be, you know, like one of the kick in the ass, you know, stop drinking.
Right.
And why would I think that? It's been, you know, 18 years. And so I was driving to work one day. I was like, no one was around. I was like, I got my seatbelt on. man, I wonder what would happen if I just let go of the steering wheel. And, not because I had a desire to die. I wanted to be hit so hard. I wanted to be at the rock bottom of my choosing. And little did I know I had control over that. And it's just wild how, the addiction works. I mean, it's just so ingrained to every fiber of your mind. And I guess that's what that feels like. But I realized then that was the time that I probably should be honest, about what's been going on. And I had just like a routine appointment with my doc. I don't know if it's going to be HIPAA information that we just blast everywhere.
Well, if you don't give out, anything identifying or whatever, but it's your information.
Like, that's a HIPAA violation.
I think if you're sharing your own information, it's okay. If right. I decided to start saying it, then we might have a problem, but I don't even know it, so I can't get in trouble.
Well, just to talk about the medications that was prescribed for, PTSD and anxiety and like nerve damage and stuff. And it was, I've been taking those for years. And the problem is the whole time I was drinking, and I was suffering from other, mental health stuff that they diagnosed, and some that was, missed, or I just didn't feel like taken care of. And I, at that moment, I had that conversation with that doc and told her, like, this is what's going on. This is how much I'm drinking. I almost choked to death. I thought about, letting go of the steering wheel, all these other changes in behavior and stuff. And just, they gave me the option. They're like, hey, do you want to go to inpatient rehab? And I was like, yes, absolutely. Because at that point, I was so sick and tired of my addiction that I was ready to at least give honesty a try and, put my faith in God and the people that are out there to help people like I was at the time. So, and when I got there, it would just like everything gelled. And so I went, through a pretty not so terrible detox period. And but the thing was, like, I was still on the meds and stuff.
Okay.
And so I never knew whether or not, like, all the things that have been prescribed to me while I was drinking would be a problem, or like, were they even the right stuff to begin with? Yeah. And I'm just busting right into all this history of of how prescription meds basically were harder for me to come off of than alcohol, and I had been taking them all about the same amount of time, and on top of that, once I got out of the military, I was smoking weed and stuff like that too, and just pretty much anything to numb the pain. And sure. And so once I got out of rehab and got to back home, I realized that I needed to, kind of build a community around me, and that was with people that had offered from Veterans Affairs, that was people in the community, and also y'all, and voxandstix and Band Together and stuff like that. Kind of brought me in and stuff, and I wasn't expecting such a positive response, because it was always in my head that you don't talk about your addictions and all your problems and stuff like that. And if you especially when you're in like a combat career field, or a more dangerous job and stuff like that, you start, even in civilian sector, law enforcement, everything like that. You can't really talk about that stuff because you can't do your job. They take away, your livelihood and stuff like that.
Right. No, I mean, and that's really, you've said so much there that I think is important, and I want to pull out some pieces of that because one of the things that you mentioned a couple of times is the idea of honesty. And I think that resonates with me so deeply because even though I've never struggled with addiction to, alcohol or anything like that, I know that the times in my life when I was suffering the most, and it wasn't from some sort of external event, like a death or an accident or something like that, but just internally, with my mental health, with my emotional health, that the times that I struggled the most were the ones where I either didn't feel like I could be honest with other people about whatever I was going through,
right.
Or I didn't even feel like I could be honest with myself. And so I don't know that I've ever heard anyone frame honesty as a specific step towards recovery, but I think it's so smart because when you are emotionally honest, you do run the risk that people are going to be assholes. I mean, I've had discussions like this with other people on this show, even, Electric Tardigrade, and, that there's a fear that if you're transparent, if you're vulnerable, if you're open, that people are just going to come in and shit all over you. And a lot of people will actually do that, which is horrific, but it's the reality of things. So, I mean, there's fear to battle there. But also just being able to take stock and be accountable. And it sounds like even though that night outside your house where you aspirated wasn't necessarily the rock bottom, it was maybe the rock right before rock bottom, because it sounds like it was the thing that made you go, I'm fucking sick of this. Like, I really am. I'm done with it. I don't want to do this anymore. And that leads me to another point that you made where you said something else very smart. You said, I wanted to hit that rock bottom of my own choosing, that you wanted to hit rock bottom on your terms, but that you didn't realize that you had always had control of that. And I think that's something I'm going to be processing for a while, because anything like alcohol, drugs, whatever, any kind of addiction, any sort of mental health issues, it does sort of put your brain in a fun house, right? Where you're not perceiving the world accurately. And so, for you to fight through all of that to get the clarity that you did, that moment of clarity that we talk about with addiction, it's tremendous to me that you were able to recognize, sort of step outside of yourself a little bit, and maybe the part of you that was in there that wasn't, steeped in addiction at that point, to go, you know what? I want a way out of this. I want to pick the way I get out of this, and I'm going to do it. And I know, and I'll shut up in a minute, but this means a lot to me. And it means a lot to me whenever anybody talks to me, whether it's on the show or just in life, about stuff like this, because, I feel honored. It's not a small thing, and I know that a lot of people judge people with addiction, people with mental health issues harshly, as if we're less than, oh, well, if you, weren't this, that, whatever, you're so anxious, you're so depressed, you have so much PTSD or whatever. I hate those people. I do, because it gets to
the point where they're like comparative suffering, stuff like that. So
that's right.
But your disability is worse than mine, and or if you show, I mean, certain, like I was talking about, that's what I wanted. I wanted to be able to provide, a place for me to be able to tell my story and potentially reach out to someone that their rock bottom doesn't have to be as shitty as mine was, you know? So that's the whole point behind the page, really.
No. And I mean, and I think that's crucial, you know, I mean, because I mean, I say this a lot, but everybody's suffering somehow. I mean, if you're not, you're either so deeply in denial, or I don't know, you have a lot of money. I don't even know what the concept of like not suffering would look like. But I mean, like, you know, people who say that they're not suffering, people who say that, you know, that are going to judge other people for suffering and how they manage that. You know, there's a real empathy deficit out there in a lot of people. And one of the things I love about this indie music community so much is that, you know, some people can empathize literally because they've been through it, whether it's specifically addiction or it's general mental health or whatever. Some people can just sympathize because they're human, you know, and then the whole point of this community is to support each other. And that's not just musical, it's as people too. And so I think, you know, when I and then everyone else saw your page and what you were doing with it, why not make that platform as big as possible? And I know you're well over 1,000 followers, and you have a lot more people who are hearing what you have to say every day. And you keep bringing this message home. You know, I saw a video from you not that long ago where you were basically, oh, look, if you're just finding this page and you don't know what's going on, I'm going to give you a little bit of my story so that maybe if it helps you, then, you know, it's all worth it or whatever. And I think that's really admirable, Ryan, that you are, and especially as somebody who was in the military, which to me, yeah, I've had family in the Marines, I've had family in the military in general, and friends. And, you know, I'm not going to even pretend to know what people who've been in active duty have been through. Like, I'm not even going to pretend I can touch that. But just watching the aftermath of that, watching all the trauma that comes out of it. I mean, I remember vividly, maybe, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, being at dinner with a friend and her boyfriend, and he had been in special forces. And we were sitting at the dinner table, and my elbow accidentally knocked a glass off the table, and he was sitting adjacent to me. And the glass hit the floor between the two of us. And I looked down and I was like, oh, geez. And I looked up and I saw his face, and he was white, and he was frozen, and he was shaking. And it took me a couple of seconds to put together what was going on. And I just, you know, once we got him back and kind of, you know, worked through that always stuck with me, you know, that this is something that people carry around. And as you said, really aren't supposed to talk about, because you can't necessarily get in your feelings and then go and do something critical where it's life and death. So, I mean, how did you get through that? I mean, how did you get through being in active duty and not being able to talk about all of this? I mean, was it really just the only outlet that you had was drinking? Or, you know, did you have a support system? Or, because it just seems like so much.
I mean, my wife, Angela, she's been with me this whole time.
Yeah.
And it's I could always talk to her, and for, you know, a long time I always, you know, I would talk to God, but it was like the more I got to the you know, idolizing, you know, alcohol and other stuff, the less I started feeling like I was in control of things, and I just kept spiraling out of that. And it, you know, it wasn't always like a fast spiral either. So it's just the military culture in general. You know, it wouldn't surprise, like in the beginning of my career, we had stuff like sponsored by you know, Budweiser. So I was like, I think the big thing with man, I'm kind of losing track. So
no, it's okay. I mean, it one of the things that I asked was about how, because I mean, look, I think in general for men in society, it's harder to feel comfortable being open and vulnerable and sharing anything personal like that, because that's not the way that quote men are supposed to act, which of course
as you can see, I'm like it's not comfortable for me, talking about it now, like
well, we can stop. I mean,
no,
okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah. Of course.
Because that's like, kind of what happens is like you start, talking yourself out of it. Mm-hmm. And at the time when I was in the mental health, if you start, usually what happened to the people that start talking about mental health issues, you would end up seeing them like taken out of their normal job and then, doing other like menial tasks and career, certain career fields. And so that really built in kind of like how I was told, as a kid, to, not lie and stuff like that. So it was all conflicting. And then, along with my faith and stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was hard to really have a connection with anything solid that time that I was in the military, except my wife, and I chose alcohol most of the time after, other than that. So
no, I mean, but that's, I mean, shit, I mean, like if you see that other people being honest about what was going on with them basically resulted in them just being sidelined, and like, okay, well, you're clearly not fit to do what you were doing, so we're going to put you over here shuffling papers. I mean, that's not even just a fear of ramifications. That's seeing that there very definitely are negative ramifications for opening up about this stuff. But I mean, like, that's I mean, I could go on a whole rant about how I don't think that veterans get enough support, in the world and all of that. And I won't, but I think that, as you said, coming from, as I think most people do, childhood with trauma, and then, getting into the military, and it doesn't sound like you ever had a space or a breath where you could even begin to process any of that, and it's just compounding trauma. You have whatever you had as a kid, and then you go into the military and you're in, as you said, these massively intense situations, and you're just expected to keep up with it, and I don't think that the human mind is really designed for that, and then to come out of it and feel like, all of a sudden, you have to know how to be able to talk to people about this when you've basically been told in one way or another for your entire life that you shouldn't. And so, I mean, the fact that one of the things that you did when you came out of treatment was to start building a community. I mean, I know obviously that's a tenet of recovery, is just to have a support system, and, one that isn't associated with bad habits and all of that. But I mean, it's not easy to ask for help. It's not easy to ask for community. And so, I just think it's beautiful that what you did in trying to build a community, the first step of that at least was public, that I saw, was to offer help. I mean, you kind of came out of it going, okay, you know what? I don't exactly know what I'm doing here. I know what I want to do, but I'm figuring this out as I go. And I think just that alone, even if it had nothing to do with addiction or anything else, just being able to say, I mean, one of the hardest things to say in the world is, I don't know. And another one followed closely behind is, I need help. Right. And you're saying both of those things. But what you're also saying is, and if you don't know either, and if you need help too, let's do this together, and I've seen responses to you on your page from people who are absolutely using you as a lifeline, who are absolutely using you as and I don't mean using you, but seeing you or engaging with you, connecting with you as a life raft, and that's right there. I don't think you can build community any better than that, because, as musicians, we could all bond over music. That would be great. But, you're making it deeper than that, and not that music isn't deep, but you're talking about real stuff that people need to hear, and you're offering to share. And I think it's just as important to share the difficult days as the good ones, because everybody has them, right? So if you see a recovery page and people are like, oh, it's day 10 and I'm feeling great, you're going to look at that and go, I don't know, I'm doing it wrong, because this guy's fine, and I'm not fine, and what's wrong with me? And you're just showing the whole thing, warts and all. So, I mean, I this is my very long-winded way of saying that, I admire and appreciate what you're doing so much, and especially the fact that it isn't comfortable and it isn't easy to do it, and you're doing it anyway. But I mean, the other good thing is that you're also putting in all this good music. So there is a break, it's like, okay, we can talk about this, but look, I'm also this, yes, I'm in recovery. Yes, I'm somebody who struggles with addiction, but I'm also a dad. And I'm also a husband, and I'm also a musician, and I also have other things in my life, and that's balance, right? So, I mean, does it ever feel like too much to do what you're doing on social media and being that open, or does it help more than it's difficult? Or, how is that for you, just being an open book like that for people?
It's, I spent a lot of time fumbling around, on my phone, because I had up to 2014, I didn't have a smartphone, kind of stuff. And I was just like, no, I'm not gonna buy into that. And then I started realizing that, that there's no time to lie about stuff. Because you can't have to keep building on top of lies. So I just, being as honest as possible. I was hoping that other people that were worried about not being heard, or maybe being scolded for being that way, or let go, or what have you, that there's actually people that are willing to listen. And even in the military, I don't know what would have happened if I would have went, to that door and asked for help. And here's the thing you should know, you should know it, like a clear thing. And I just wanted to, maybe one person looks at how I had to come through this, and that the main key was being honest. If that helps, one person, that'd be amazing. That'd be a gift from God for us and the people involved. So it just blows me away. It really does, and it does get to be to the point where I feel like I'm spending a lot more time on it. But when I'm not doing regular, therapy or sit down mental health sessions and stuff like that, or going to appointments or meetings and stuff, it is part of that therapy is through music and reaching out to other people. And some of the most meaningful conversations that I've had is, just someone sharing that, I've been dealing with the same thing, that kind of what you've been going through, and this is what worked for me. Or hey, it's okay to screw up sometimes, and or hey, I've been there, or I know someone that has, that you should talk to them and stuff. And it was just trying to have a cool place that is, that music would be a part of, where other people that were struggling with shit, or maybe just or having a crappy day, but mainly people that were in pain. And it's just been really cool seeing how people support each other. And that's, really what kind of attracted me to, band together. And is the fact that I saw that y'all supported each other, and and so it just, it's just the way it happened,
No, and I mean, it's, it's real support too, which I think is hard to come by, because a lot of people will pay lip service to supporting people, whether it's their music or them as people or whatever. It's just like, oh, you're doing great, but this community really cares. I mean, I see it every day in all these different ways, whether we're talking about, Yellow for Yanni, or we're talking, to Death Pigeon or Electric Tardigrade, or, people who are sharing these really personal stories, that there's just so much love there, that everybody really cares about each other. Everybody feels like a family. And, there are people in band together who come in and they drop their links and they dip, and, that's fine. You can use it that way too. I'm not expecting everybody, the price of admission is not to bare your soul or anything, but I think what I hope you understand is that you are giving as much back to this community as you feel like you're getting from it, because I've seen some of the friendships that you formed with people who are struggling with similar things. You were in that chat for Electric Tardigrade's episode that premiered, now it'll be, a couple weeks ago, but it was, just last night, and, super supportive and just right there. And again, sharing your story, but not taking away from Aaron or anything like that. And I think that's,
that last night hit me so hard, and so and that's why I kind of feel like today that like a freight train hit me. So
yeah, I felt, well, yeah, I was deeply affected after that interview as well, and I think that Aaron being so open and so honest, and just seeing what he was going through, and again, for you're in a different place right now, but you're, I think you're very open about the fact that, and I mean, first of all, let's congratulate the shit out of you, because you started your recovery February 16th, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
So that puts you 155 days ish, 150. I don't math.
That sounds good.
Okay, we'll do that. And I mean, that's tremendous. It's tremendous. I mean, I have family that I love beyond measure who have struggled with addiction. Some have lost that struggle and aren't around anymore. And some are just fighting and fighting and fighting every day. And I've seen close up what a commitment it is every day to choose to keep being in recovery, and the strength that takes, and, the mental fortitude that it takes. People who are perceived as being weak, are doing the strongest things, and for you to be able to absorb something like watching that Electric Tardigrade interview and have it hit you, and you're still clean, and you're doing this interview with me today, and you're here and you're talking about it, you might have coped with it very differently, 8 months ago. So, I mean, I think that, it's so important for people to hear what you're saying, that, you've been up against it. And this is something that was almost 2 decades of your life that was pretty much occupying all of your day, every day. And now you've made this decision. And I mean, I can tell just from even, because you were brave enough even to post a video that you did of, I want to say it was a Garth Brooks song, but I don't know. Country is Thunder Rolls.
Yeah, that's Garth Brooks.
I don't know why that's in my consciousness, but I guess I knew that. But you posted the video, and you were very clearly, you're like, yeah, this was one of my drunken karaoke, whatever things. Yeah. And first of all, I was so impressed that you put it out there, because again, all the things that people like to hide on social media, especially where everybody curates their image and everybody, filters things and whatever. And you're like, nope, here it was. This was me. I was not in a great place, whatever. And I would never play this song again, but here it is, and I mean, your clarity is showing in your music. It's showing in the difference that I see in you, not just physically, like we talked about, but just in your playing, in the mindfulness that you're using with your singing, even in I think the songs that you're picking, you know, I do see that clarity. I do see that growth and that improvement. I mean, do you feel that, or are you just so deep in it that you're like, you know, I mean, are you able to look just ahead of you, or are you thinking way far out in the future, like, okay, you know, this is where I want to be in terms of my recovery, this is where I want to be in terms of my singing, this is where I want to be in terms of my playing, or is it all still one day at a time kind of thing?
It's a battle back and forth, and there's some days where, you know, I can let go and let God, and just, you know, the day's going to turn out the way it is, and then there's those days that I'm trying to will it a certain way. Yeah. And that was the way that, you know, it was probably more my addictive side. So I've noticed that being, you know, sober, I can hear things differently, you know, I feel things differently, even the music that I want to play or be a part of. And so I just being more mindful, you know, and doing so, you know, me supporting, you know, someone else, thinking that, you know, maybe they're going through some of the same stuff I'm going through, ends up being, you know, a therapy in itself, because, you know, we're able to, you know, share similar experiences and kind of bond together on that level. And instead of, you know, everybody comparing suffering and stuff like that, everybody's like embracing the healing, which is what's up. So I don't care where you're at. No one wants to sit around and just make people sick, you know. So, and that's the basic thing. Truly, that's what's special about being a part of the group with y'all. So I mean, my gratitude to y'all is I wouldn't be here, and then my gratitude to God is I wouldn't be alive, you know, to be able to share any of this with y'all. So but I am my focus on music right now is man, just being better at what I was doing, you know, giving it a fair shake. So I got some, as y'all may have seen, I've been spamming everything with that popular Monster cover.
Oh, so. Yeah. So for those who haven't seen it, and I don't know, maybe like the one guy that hasn't seen it, who's had no internet connection for the last month or two, whatever. But so Ryan, as Simple Jack, is doing a collab with Plague Beast, and again, As the City Sleeps, and you're gonna have to wait till almost Halloween for the thing to come out. But
yeah, pretty close.
We're can pre-save it. You can pre-save it, but it's a Falling in Reverse cover, popular Monster, and you are, I can tell, super excited about this because it just sounds kick-ass from everything you've told me. So talk about that a little bit, because I know you're teasing on, aren't you doing like a whole, you're doing not a contest, but you're doing like a whole push, right?
Oh yeah, we're doing a giveaway, and like once we hit 500, I mean, we're giving away like merch for hats, shirts, cool stuff like that.
I have my eye on that all.
sign lyrics, you know,
if I win, folks, like it wasn't fixed. I was pre-saving like everybody else, but yeah. So okay, so you're giving a whole bunch away.
The guitar that's going to be used in the video next weekend. So
is the filming next weekend? Okay.
Yeah. After As the City Sleeps has a hometown concert from where I'm from, so we're the day after we're gonna record it. So that'll be cool.
Very cool. So how did you guys hook up with Plague Beast? Because I know that you know, and your cousins, you know, you've worked together. Obviously, you did on Only One or whatever. But like, how did the collab with Plague Beast come about? I love that I get to say things like this now in my job. Like, and how did you and Plague Beast meet?
Actually, I met him at a As the City Sleeps show in Houston, and he was good friends with my cousin, and so we naturally hit it off because me and my cousin get along real good. So cousins. And anyway, so I liked his sound. You know, it was really cool to me. And then there was some very like emotional, you know, connection with my cousin's music and with As He Sleeps. And that song, Popular Monster, I heard it when I was like in a really bad spot. And it was like, man, that's kind of how I feel right now. And
so I don't know the songs. So what are, you know, I don't know if you know some of the lyrics or whatever, but what's kind of the, I mean, from the title I could maybe guess, but what's kind of the message of the lyrics in that song that you were resonating with?
Man, for me was, you know, fooling everybody, fooling myself that, you know, everything was cool, that I was, you know, somewhat of a functional alcoholic, which I don't think is true. There's no such thing. It's because it just sinks into everything. And I, you know, had just all this anger, I'd say, you know, like grief and shame and stuff like that I've been balling up. And just the topic came up of, you know, that song. And I guess at that point, some of us were feeling all kind of the same way, and we got together on something, and it was the part of the song just where he gets to the point that, you know, he feels like he's lost total control, like, you know, he's so numb from everything that it's going to take something like a big, you know, impact to make a change, you know. And
well, I could see where I mean, that's what you just described, being behind the wheel of that car. So for you, it was going to be a literal impact, but wow. Okay. Right. Yeah. I mean, I was already excited for it because I knew that the three of you together, you know, bands together, we're going to be great. But now that I know the meaning behind why you picked it, and that I see, and I love that, because again, what you're describing there is that the second that you looked up and started reaching out for connections, they just started hitting you in the face. You know, it was like coming at you as fast as it could. You know, you reconnect with your cousins even more closely than you had been, and then you're at their concert, and then you meet Plague Beast, and then you connect and you know, bond over that, and then, you know, you bring that to the community, and the community connects with that. And there's just so, I mean, I really truly believe in life that one of the things that will sink us is a lack of connection. I think if you can connect honestly and deeply with even just one other person, it'll save your life, whatever that looks like, you know. And I mean, I know that you have Angela, you know, and I know that you have your boys, and, you know, but you have that in different environments now. You know, you have it with the people that you're, you know, probably going to meetings to, and people who are specifically in recovery. You have that with your family. You have that with, you know, the people in the music community now. You know, you've got all that connection, and you're building more. That's what your whole goal is with your page, you know. And that was really what got me at the beginning, was just, I looked at what you were saying, and I looked at what you were doing, and I thought, you know what, this guy is just trying to connect and help, and, you know, and use his grief and his pain and his trauma and his story to help other people, you know. And I think that I love the fact that I'm hearing that for you, all of those avenues of connection are kind of converging now. You know, you've got the family and the music and the recovery community, and all of that kind of blending together, and you're puzzling together your support system. And I think that's awesome, because you don't have to just be one part of Ryan with any of them. You know, you're not recovery Ryan over here, and then musical Ryan over here, and family Ryan over here. It's too hard. It's hard enough to be yourself, to have to be like multiple versions of yourself in different places. No, it's too much, and once you hit a certain age, the brain just melts and won't let you do it anyway. So it's better to just, give into it and just be yourself all the time. But I mean, this push for Popular Monster looks like it's going pretty well so far already. So you've already crossed off a couple of the pre-save goals. Do you remember where you are as of this taping, which is July 21st? I mean, I know it's by the time this airs, there's going to be a lot more, but do you know what part of the giveaway you're up to?
No.
Okay.
I do not.
Well, see, good. Now everyone has to go and look it up and see. They'll go and they'll look it up, and then they'll pre-save it, and then it'll be even, farther along than it would have been. So that's okay.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's a cool idea. So who came up with the idea to give away all the merch and to kind of do the levels the way that you are? That's a really good idea.
I mean, it's cool. It's just we just got together and started doing it. Like it was stuff that like I felt like I used to joke about when I was a teenager, like, hey, let's do this. Yeah, let's try that, and and when we would sit and dream about being in a band and things like that. And we can only do so much with the time given and whatnot. And
Sure.
it was a cool idea because I like the way that Jacob kind of blended into the rap, the heavier rap parts and stuff like that. And this all this stuff is in the little teaser, but you get to hear a little bit of all of us in it, and which is no,
it's
awesome.
It's a true collab, definitely, based on the little that we've heard. So yeah, so no, but I mean that's I'm happy that you're getting to reconnect with the parts of you that you had to put away for so long, the part of you that was dreaming about being a rock star, and the part of you that was, because I think, whenever anything consumes us, mental health, addiction, whatever, it can become just a tunnel. And the only thing that you're focused on is either the thing that you're struggling with or the thing that you're doing that's destructively keeping you from dealing with the thing that you're struggling with, right? And so now you have all of this mental bandwidth to be paying attention to your music and crafting it differently than you were. And I really like that from video to video, I can see the progress that you make in getting closer and closer to what I think you want your playing and your singing to be. I mean, we're all always working on that. I don't think anybody feels like they're, okay, I'm exactly where I want to be musically. I don't know, maybe people do, but I'm not one of them. So we talked about it a little bit in a different way, but like, what do you listen to? What's the stuff musically that you really enjoy? I know it's a bunch of different things. I know you do like alt rock, but I mean, like, what are some of your other influences besides the people that I've heard you cover?
I would say that I was listening to music, a totally different way, before I got sober. And
what way?
And it was based off of how I was feeling when I was drunk.
Okay.
Or angry and stuff like that. So I think I gravitate more to stuff that's I guess it resonates with me now, and some of them carried from my childhood, which is like Breaking Benjamin, Keith Wallen. He's the guitarist for Breaking Benjamin, but he's got some awesome solo stuff too. And and I would say like 10 years, Chevelle. I mean, they've always it's like they've been with me for a long time, and on the softer side, I would say just hearing wise, City and Color. I listen to them a lot, and but then there's times where I'll go back and I'll listen to Limp Bizkit's first album, $3 Bill Y'all. You know, so I mean, it's definitely. I didn't listen to EDM or anything like that until I started hanging out with y'all, and I was I was digging it. So you know, and I don't know. So it's just it's like starting over again. You know, my feeling stuff's healed up that it hadn't been healed up, and just having more clarity. I'm getting to enjoy stuff, you know, differently now. So I'm just, it's all very fresh.
So that's interesting. So a lot of the stuff that you used to listen to, it doesn't really work for you anymore because it was based on, you know, your headspace at the time, and you're in a different headspace. So the music just doesn't click for you anymore. Is that kind of the...
It had gotten to where I thought maybe I would go back and like try to redo some of those covers. And I fought with myself, like, you know, give what I would consider like a fair shake where I'm, you know, sober and not, you know,
right.
But you know, I was just, you know, human experience. And then I tell myself, you know, like that was part of where I was in life, and it's part of my story. And it's not, you know, other things like the internet where you can just go back and delete it. And so a lot of those songs meant a lot to me at the time, and in certain cases were, you know, a medium of, you know, communication spiritually, and some of them, you know, may have saved my life, you know. And so when people say music is therapy, I feel like if someone asked me what I would say, music is therapy, it's that it grows with you. It can actually change you. And it's a great way to communicate a lot of things, you know, especially deeper stuff.
Oh yeah.
I would, a lot of the things that, you know, prior to getting sober and stuff, it was, you know, either really, really sad, really, really angry kind of vibe. And then, you know, it changes with the seasons. And this is one that I've never experienced before. So it's like just starting over.
No, I love that. I mean, I think it's it's because what's interesting to me about that specifically is that you are using music to tap into your emotions, and your emotions are making you gravitate to certain kinds of music. And if you're not being open and honest with yourself, then you're not dealing with your emotions. And so everything you listen to is just going to be that angry, dark, you know, intense, because it's that, I don't know that there's that much vulnerability in that, listening to that stuff, because it all very aggressive, and, you know, it's all very, you know, and not that there isn't value in that, but if all you're ever processing is emotion, and then you don't go upstream from that and figure out, like, okay, the emotion that I'm only been processing is anger, you know, anger comes from something, right? Anger is a shield or a disguise that usually grief or sadness or fear will wear, right? And so, you know, anger will let us vent, but I don't know that it lets us process, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
So for you, thank you, because I don't always make sense. That's
no, it does.
But I mean, you know,
I definitely don't make sense. I'm like, how am I going to talk without a meme or a GIF? I don't know.
I know we're at that point now where we should just hold up emojis over our faces or whatever. And
gosh.
But yeah, but I mean, you know, I mean, one of the things that I love about doing this show is that it doesn't matter to me that the specific experiences that the person I'm talking to on the other side of the screen has had are different from the specific experiences that I've had. You know, and you touched on it a couple of times earlier about this idea of comparative suffering, you know, that like my family used to joke around about it being like the misery Olympics, right? Like if you say, oh, this is what I'm, dealing with, and somebody'd be like, well, this is what I'm dealing with. And it's like, okay, well, I guess you get the gold and I get the silver on who's more miserable. Congratulations. And it's not, that's not the point, and the thing that I say all the time is that grief is like a liquid. It will fill whatever container you put it in. And whether it's this big or this big, if it's full, and you're dealing with a full plate. And if we can stop, sort of basically, I mean, one of the worst things that I've ever experienced with people is if I did decide to open up and share, to have the person on the other end of that go, well, it could be worse, or, well, but you have to be positive, or you have to. No, you don't. You don't have to be positive. And I think that there's this gross misconception out there that dealing with your shit is somehow wallowing, or it's, getting stuck or whatever. And I mean,
right.
Greg and I talk all the time about the fact that with difficult things, the only way out is through. You can't just decide that you're not struggling with something. You have to deal with it. And if you don't, at some point it will deal with you. And I think you are a great example of that, because you spent a lot of time pushing things down and not looking at them. And the second that you shined a light on all of that, everything changed for you. And I know it wasn't literally overnight, but I mean, the last 6 months have been huge for you. And you're still at the beginning of recovery, even being 155, whatever days in, which again, congratulations on that, because I know every day is tremendous. And so to have 155 or whatever it is of them built up is really tremendous. But and I hope you're as proud of yourself as I am. And I know everybody else is watching this of you, but it's you did take control. And that, I think it's interesting, because you said earlier that, the way that you used to control the feelings was to kind of numb them, right? If I can make them disappear, then I'm driving the bus, and what I think is amazing is that you took a step that a lot of people don't necessarily take, where you realized that controlling your own destruction is not actually being in control. It's just the illusion of control. And when you actually decided to take control of it, you realized you had to be honest. You had to be, willing to face the things that you hadn't been facing. And I mean, and then that, even to finally deal with all of that you hadn't been, like, that's control, as out of control as I know that can make you feel. I mean, one of the worst revelations I ever had when I first got back into therapy, and I actually finally had found a really good therapist, was that often I would walk out of therapy feeling worse than I felt when I had walked in. Right. I was like, this is a scam. Like, I'm supposed to feel better. But, and you sort of, you walk around like a peeled grape for a while, because you've stripped yourself of all your defense mechanisms, but you haven't built your new tools yet. Right. So to put that out there and exist publicly in that space as you've been, that's bold, my friend. That is brave. And it is such a gift that you're giving to do that, because it's terrifying. Wherever you're in that position, it's terrifying. And I mean, do you ever stop and think about everything that you've accomplished in these last 155 days? Can you not do that? Are you not there yet? Like, I mean, how much of this are you, really paying attention to at this point, or are you just kind of in it and you don't look up too much from that?
I'm trying not to overanalyze stuff, because, like when in the beginning parts of it, it was a pretty big, it was a gigantic reset, and kind of like booting up an old computer. It's taken some time. There's some corrupt files. don't have a clean copy to start over with, kind of thing, but I I just realized more that I try to control them less. I try to, give it to God, give it to, the what the world's going to run like it's going to run, and I'm not going to have control over it. And, and just being able to, share that's just been a blessing. And, I don't know. I think this has just been just such a cool journey so far. I don't really look at the huge big forward picture because it's just I don't know what to expect. I feel like a little kid sometimes. I may even act like it. So, but it's just taking it day by day. I feel like right now would be the approach to it, because but you still got to take some time to look back and say, hey, look what you did. Look where you've gotten, and I know it doesn't seem big at the time, but even if it was yesterday and you're still sober and you're still hanging in there and having an opportunity to help other people and stuff, and you know what, you're doing it. It's not there's not some standard to hit, and you don't have to be perfect at it. You just got to try every day. So that's
I agree, and it's funny you kind of answered something I had wanted to ask you, which was just if somebody's watching this who is struggling, who's on that precipice of deciding whether to go into treatment or not, or whether to stick around or not, what would you say to them, based on everything that you've been through, everything that you've done, everything that you're doing, everything that you're going to do? Like, what do you tell that person who's just maybe at rock bottom, maybe close,
and that there's, in treatment help or intensive outpatient and stuff, that those things save lives. Those type of treatment places, especially if you have the time to actually look at which one is right for you, which is something that like a doctor should be helping you with. But too often we're worried about what that jump, that leap is going to look like, and I just feel like the stigma of mental health and being able to talk about it, especially for traumatic experiences and stuff, and men and whatnot, and women, and it's like one of those things, we're just now getting to the point where it's not as icky, people are, but I just wanted that someone else's bottom not be as low as mine, but that it could always be a lot worse, and it doesn't have to be. So.
Yeah, and I think people can look at you and find hope, and I think that hope is something that can be very sustaining, and I think the other thing that is, even if it's less direct, and people can look at the fact that you had kind of lost your music for a long time as you were kind of losing yourself in alcohol.
Yeah.
And now you're back, that even just the fact that you're reconnecting to that part of yourself that was there since you were really little, and just even being transparent about the process of getting back into that, because you're right. I mean, when I came back from 10 years away from singing, it was like I had to learn it all over again. I had to remember how to use my voice. I had to remember what it could and couldn't do, and, you know, figure out what maybe it could do that I didn't know, and then how I had to, you know. So it's a learning curve. Everything is a learning curve in life, right? But I mean, you know, from the musical standpoint, you know, that even if that's the way in for people who might not be at a point where they could be honest enough to look at issues of mental health or addiction or whatever, to be hearing you say, you know, yeah, this was something that I really had walked away from for a long time and I didn't have clarity over, and I was doing, you know, almost as a different person, even to the point where the music that you listen to is different now. You know, that might be a step where somebody goes, hey, you know, why does everything I listen to have to be angry? Why does everything, you know what I mean? Like, you really don't know the ways in which that message is going to get through. And it's one of my favorite things about people being genuine, is that alone is just such a gift, because so much of life is bullshit and artifice and, you know, people protecting their little plot of land by making everything look perfect and happy. And, you know, nobody has that life. And it's, you know, to be real and to be honest about it is not only a gift, but it's a way to connect. You know, I can't connect with people that look like they have all their shit together, because I'm like, I don't know, you know, I don't know how you do it, but I know I'm not doing it. So I'm going to be more likely to be with the weird person over in the corner, because then there are two weird people over in the corner and I'm happy in my weird little world, you know? So as my grandmother would say, there's a lid for every pot, right? So, you know, if you're if you're weird, there's a community for you. If you're recovering, there's a community for you. If you're musical, there's a community for you. And they all happen to be this community, actually, as it turns out. So I mean, okay, so let's focus back on the music for a little bit before we wrap up. What are you thinking of doing next in terms of covers? Do you have you know, some lined up that you want to do? Is there, like, do you have like a white whale in terms of a cover, like something you've always wanted to play or sing that you felt like you haven't been ready for yet? Or, you know, what's coming up musically for you besides Popular Monster and some other things that I'm not at liberty to say?
Well, I am working on a original song, which is cool, because I always told myself that
I'm glad you said it.
You ain't never gonna do that shit. Why do you gotta write your own music when there's plenty of good bands out there you can just cover? Yeah, right. But and anyway, so I started thinking about it, and it was, you know, coming home from rehab was the inspiration for like what I got going right now on that. And then there's another cover that we finished of a song that you'll find out about soon. And then you know, there's a couple other ones that are kind of lined up, but I think my along with the Popular Monster one and the secret one for now, there's some, you know, just a better version of myself, you know.
So, I mean, so is there a song that you are, you know, that's kind of like your carrot off in the distance that you've been working on or want to work on at some point to cover? Is there just a song that you especially love that you would love to do at some point? Anything that's like meaningful or just that you really think kicks ass or anything like that?
Man, that is a good question.
Thank you. I just thought of it, but I'm glad that I asked, because I'm curious to hear the answer. I like watching people think.
Man, I would say the one that I got coming up is pretty close, because it's I'll give you a hint. And that's it. It's from, you know, one of my favorite bands, so you probably heard me talk about them, but that's as far as I'm going to go.
Okay, we're not. No, this is. I mean, he's teasing us, everyone. Teasing us. You're just going to have to keep eyes on the Simple Jack page all the time because you never know when this mystery is going to be revealed. You don't. So, all right,
I never know. So
you're like, yeah, I don't know either. I have to watch my own page too because I'm not sure what's going.
This isn't a mystery. I just have a hard time processing all this stuff.
You're like, I would tell you, but I can't remember. So yeah, no, I understand. No, I mean, I'm.
Or there's certain things that we got to do that to be honorable with the stuff that we do and try to be respectful and everything. It takes time. So that's something I wouldn't really care about back in the day. 9 times out of 10 there'd be a bottle of tequila sitting next to me, or I just got done smoking a big old doobie.
No,
oh man,
clarity's not for the weak. It's not. Like it's really not. But I like that too. That it's again, like you have all of these ways in which new Ryan, which I think is probably just Ryan, minus all of the stuff that was, any kind of mental health, addiction, anything is just, I think of that as like a really heavy coat that we wear around, and it's obscuring who we are. It's interfering with who we are. And it's kind of hiding us from ourselves. And you've taken all that off now. And I think you're discovering who you actually are. And I actually love the fact that sometimes you do act like a kid because you're getting a chance to do that over, and as a parent, I know that one of the best things about having kids is that they remind you what it's like to be a kid. And if you can tap back into that part of yourself, there's just so much joy in that. And I think, joy is an antidote to a lot of things. And especially in the midst of dealing with real stuff, instead of just pretending it's fine and ignoring it. So I'm happy that you're already working on something that has been like a big favorite of yours. And I can't wait to hear it. And even just to find out what it is. And it'll be you and I will watch it together and be surprised. we'll figure it out together. So, okay. So we've covered a lot of ground today. And I mean, again, I'm always really thankful when anyone comes on this show and, opens up and shares their story because, I mean, you've seen it. We have a core crew of people who, 20, 30 people who are watching everything. And hi, guys. I'm sure they're watching right now, but it's also, your story is rippling out to people. And, I think the fact that you're using your experience to try and help other people while you're helping yourself, it's one of the most beautiful things that a person can do. So I want to thank you for that, on behalf of everybody who will watch this or go to your page or see one of your videos. And as I said, maybe find a lifeline in that. I mean, you don't even know how many people you may have already helped. You may not. And I love that you don't need accolades for that, but I'm going to give them to you anyway. So, and again, you guys have to, October 28th, Popular Monsters coming out. That's Simple Jack, Plague Beast, As the City Sleeps. Go sign up for the pre-save, get in on that giveaway. Because there's a lot of merch that I'm telling you, I am wrestling. This is my white whale that DistroKid will never let me pre-save anything, but I'm going to have to figure it out because there's just too much stuff and I need to get in on that because I want some merch. So, but okay. As you know, we end every show with a little segment that I call In the Vox Seat. So I'm going to ask you the 5 questions and, let's see how it goes. Okay. This is a little bit different for cover artists, but I know you can still do it. And maybe even you can use your original as the thing to answer this for. But if you could sum up your music in 5 words or less, what would you say? And if you want the dog to answer for you, you can do that too.
Well, I can't count very good, but
I'll count for you.
It's a way to get out of my pain, or I would say, or a way to get out of my head.
Okay. I don't even care how many words that is. That answer is too good. So I'm taking it. I'm taking it. I love that. Okay. So what is your favorite thing about being a musician? It may be the same answer, actually.
To me, it was like to me, it feels a lot like riding a motorcycle. You know, when I used to ride, it's like something that it would just like kind of blank my mind, and it's like when I finally got to perform the cover only one when I went on a little tour with my cousin and his band and band full of nuns and I got up on the stage like I thought I was going to be okay, and then I got up there and something didn't sound like quite right, and I was like in tunnel vision. Mm-hmm. So everything turned out all right.
That's good. So just kind of getting again out of your own head and clearing your head. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, there was there wasn't anything to like worry about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of being ultimately mindful, right? That you are just in that moment. So, okay. Yeah. So then the flip side of that question is, what is your least favorite thing about being a musician?
I guess the emotional attachment that comes with it is something I think about. Like if I had a song that I either covered or hopefully this one that is going to come out. Is it going to help somebody, or is it just going to fall on deaf ears? Because it's not like about anything other than that. It helped me, and so I wanted to share it with other people. But
okay, so like the pressure of whether it's gonna connect with other people in the same way that it connects for you.
Yeah, I mean that would be the all right, so my dog keeps jumping into me, and it's distracting me greatly. So.
That's okay. No, I think you answered it well, and I think that's something that a lot of musicians grapple with, is that once I put this out into the world, what's it going to do or not do? How's it going to hit people or not hit people, and that that's another layer of vulnerability. And you're already putting a lot of vulnerability out there, so I can completely understand, even if it's quote just a cover, like what I do too. You're still putting yourself into it, and
it definitely feels different, to me. I mean, it got, and like I said, the choice of music is always been kind of based on how I was feeling at the time, and
right.
So.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's it. It's personal, so the stakes are higher. But okay, this I'm curious about, because I have no sense of what this answer might be, because we haven't really gotten to a specific artist or anything like that in talking about it. But if you had to choose just one album for the rest of your life to listen to, only one, what album would you pick and why? I love that you really think about these. I really like that.
Gosh.
I know. Everybody hates this question. They really do. But I get really good answers, so. It could even be a song or a musician if you want. Doesn't have to be an album. You can pick any of them you want.
I guess it would have to be, when I say I guess, because I'm never, this is there was this another band that I really like is Starset, and they do got space rock kind of stuff and some more electronic sounds, and anyway, real cool stuff. But I think there's an album. It's like a Piano Dreamers cover, and they do piano versions of all different genres and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
And because I like Star Set so much, I thought it was cool. But that's what our babies listen to, and like the hospital and stuff like that. And it was always like what we would put on to help sleep and everything. So and
I
just
love that.
have a cool, chill mood. So yeah, it's a Piano Dreamers Star Set version.
I will have to look that up.
Yeah.
That sounds really cool, because I know you did Carnivore by them as one of your covers, but that whole idea. Plus, I like the nostalgia of it. If it reminds you of your family. So okay, there, you did it. See, you did it. Okay, Ryan, this is it.
Yeah.
The big question. Okay, the big question here. Your toilet paper roll, does it come out over the top with the paper, or does the paper pull out from under the bottom, and why? And we have people who are viciously committed to one answer or the other. So you're going to win over some and you're going to lose others, unless you're one of these just I put it on the windowsill people. So are you an over the top or an under from the bottom guy? It's the same careful consideration. You're like, I'm trying to remember
how do I tell people that I just used 3 seashells?
Is that a Fifth Element reference? Okay, it's 3 seashells.
But yeah, no, I always thought the standard was over the top. That's what I'm saying, because it was like, that's how it was like folded in like a little tiny triangle at the hotels and stuff, from what my recollection is. So I thought that was the right one.
The little Dorito toilet paper, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So again, Dom from Jan Steaks stands alone. He's the only one so far that I can remember who has said under. So there you have it, folks. Simple Jack. Ryan is an over the top guy, or 3 seashells, one of those ways. So
yeah, there you go.
Ryan, thank you for this conversation. Thank you for what you're doing on your social media. Thanks for sitting with me and chatting with me and being so open. And I am so proud of you, and I'm so happy for you and everything that you're doing. And I can't wait for Popular Monsters to come out. I cannot wait to see what this other mystery song that's imminent is going to be, and I'm really looking forward to hearing a Ryan original at some point, because you have so much to say through other people's words. I can only imagine how much you'll have to say using your own. So all the best to you, and thank you again for hanging out with me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, guys, that's another Vox and Guest. We will see you soon. Bye.